Today we're going to talk about my top 10 personal favorite movies of all time. These are my favorites. Tell me what your favorites are in the comments below, or if you've even made videos. I would love to watch those, because I love watching top 10 lists of any kind, seeing what movies people love. Everyone's probably got like a different list. So let's start off this 10 that I had a hard time with because I rewatched the Toy Story movies again, and my opinions of them have changed. I don't think that while the first movie I hold close to my heart, and that it's the first movie I ever saw in theaters even. Love, I love the first Toy Story, absolutely, but it doesn't age well. And I find that I enjoy the characters better and such in the later Toy Stories, as well as the themes and how things just play out in general and how entertaining they are. And I find that I'm more entertained and moved by, I think I'm going to go with the second Toy Story. I think that movie is kind of like the X-Men 2, where there's like a lot of really good scenes in that movie, but like Toy Story 2 is so good, and Toy Story 3 came really close. I fell off this frickin' platform. Let me get back up. But man, Toy Story 2 was just such a good time. It's still part of one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I'm not a big fan of the fourth movie, even though I don't think it's that bad. I just think it's completely unnecessary. I really enjoyed Toy Story 2. It's really fun. It's a great time. I love the characters. They're at their best here. There's some great references, especially Star Wars references, utilizing one of my favorite Star Wars movies, which you might see on this list. You'll have to wait and see. Yeah, just a really, really fun, entertaining, with great theming movie that tugs at your heartstrings. Love it. Let's move on to number 9. There's also movies I would love to put on honorable mentions. It was so hard making this list. It's kind of like my top video games list, because I can't really decide. I'm going to have to talk about shows and like animated shows or anime and such, like what my favorites are, because I'm going to have a hard time with that too. So let's talk about number 9 is The Lion King. The Lion King is another movie that was really big to me, where not only was Toy Story the series that I wore a Woody and Buzz Lightyear costume for, as well as even had the ton of the toys and such. Lion King was very much a similar thing for me. I didn't have costumes, but I had toys. And I absolutely love the movie. I still can rewatch and love it today. Here's the tower, by the way, of Sauron. We'll get to the top in just a bit. But I absolutely love the Lion King movie. I love its animation. It still ages well today, where the second Toy Story and third are probably the best to age compared to the first one. I love the characters. I love the story. It's a very like Shakespearean. As a matter of fact, it takes influence from, is it Hamlet? I think it's Hamlet. Not certain, but I love the movie. I have a lot of fun with it every time. I love the songs. Hakuna Matata is a fun freaking song. I'm more annoyed by Let It Go. That song freaking annoys the crap out of me. Hakuna Matata was a very warming, needed, and welcoming song. And we got a prison here for these guys. I did not think it was a bad song. So, shut the hell up, Doug. Yeah, I had a really good time with The Lion King over the years, and I can still rewatch that. Movies like Aladdin comes really goddamn close, because I love Aladdin. I love Robin Williams. I should make a like top favorite actors. That's gonna be hard. That'll have to be on another time. Um, but yeah, I absolutely love Robin Williams. Johnny Depp is also an actor I absolutely love. I would love to put Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands and such on this list, by the way, because I feel those aren't going to be on the list, but I want to mention them because they are brilliant movies that I love. There's Sauron, by the way, as well as I. Sauron is supposed to have a more physical humanoid form in the tower because he is not a giant fiery eye, but I put the fiery eye because it's become an iconic thing to the series. But yeah, um, that's all I have to say about Lion King. I might repeat myself too much, or I don't know what else I can say. I just really enjoy that movie and its animation, and characters, and story, and songs. It's fantastic. So, next at number 8, I think I'm going to go with, man, it was hard making this list. I'm gonna go with Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is such a it gets the balance right between Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, where Army of Darkness is more for the humor, and Evil Dead 1 was trying to be more serious, but came out kind of, uh, unintentionally funny in parts. Man, it's hot, by the way. Um, Makes it hard to talk. Thinking about the heat, I just want to turn on my fan or something. Um, Evil Dead's just like got a good balance of the humor, and Sam Raimi just put his all into the movie. It had a balance of the horror as well because I love more psychological horror, and that's what this more so appeals to, rather than jump scare horror or just gross out horror. I think this movie does a much better job, and I always have such a fun time with Evil Dead 2. I was disappointed to see the Evil Dead game was kind of mediocre. I wanted to do it for the channel, but realizing the state it's in and the company that made it, we know other games they've made in the past that are just as mediocre and disappointing. I have to say Evil Dead 2 is just such a fantastic game. Not game, I was just thinking of the game. Movie that I can always come back to and have fun. I actually own the movie. I can watch it whenever I want, just as most of these movies. But I have lost a lot of movies over the years, just because of my move out from my mom's place and stepfather, because I could not deal with that environment. It was just too crazy for me. So, Evil Dead is a fantastic movie that I can always put on and absolutely enjoy the hell out of. Then we move on to the next, as with all these torches, they're just kind of thrown everywhere. I gotta fix that at some point. But yeah, I absolutely enjoy Evil Dead 2. I love the first Evil Dead, and I love Army of Darkness, but Evil Dead 2 is the one that just got the balance just perfect between the horror and the comedy elements. It was full on the personality of Sam Raimi. Now, speaking of Sam Raimi, I think at number 7, I was having a hard time. I think Evil Dead 2 is honestly better, but I think that a lot more people can get into and have really expressed how they love this movie. But Spider-Man 2, I came down trying to decide where I wanted this movie. It was so hard. There were other movies I wanted to put. I'll probably do some other honorable mentions, or just like make another video talking about movies I absolutely love. But god damn, I love Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is such a, once again, gets that right balance between the first and third Spider-Man movies and knows exactly what it wants to be. It gets the right of both worlds of Sam Raimi's. It is the Evil Dead 2 of the Spider-Man movies. It's fantastic. It gets the villain right. The villain is so good. I love freaking Doc Ock and the actor that portrays him, Alfred Molina. I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I got the name right too, because you know I suck at remembering names sometimes, even of famous people. But I loved the I always loved that Spider-Man costume. I thought it was one of the better Spider-Man costumes, and this was the most fun, entertaining, and enjoyable of the Spider-Mans. It just got everything perfect in order. But I put it here just because there are other movies I have so much more to love and go back to. Even though I think Spider-Man 2 and Evil Dead 2 I technically might watch more than these next couple movies, but especially one of them. But I think these are just the right spots for me to put them. So yeah, I love these frickin' movies. So that was number 7. Let's move on to number 6. Um, Number 6 has to be the first Alien. I was so close to putting Aliens because I do think it is a better movie and it's much more enjoyable. It's one of the best action movies, just like Terminator 2. It is also a brilliant movie that sadly won't be on here. Um, but I absolutely loved the Alien movie. I loved its atmosphere. I'm more about like it how it portrayed its horror and atmosphere compared to other movies where the other one was definitely fun and more action, but I'm looking for horror and like how unique the great performances, the iconic lines. It was one of the first horror movies I saw as a kid, and it was genuinely scary to me. I loved it. It was one of the only horror movies that get under my skin. I love Alien, and it's still a movie I can go back to. And like just the opening, I love the music, and that opening is so good. The eerie music and just the build up to showing you around the ship and such. It's such a good intro that I can't get enough of. It's so atmospheric, and there's a lot of stuff like that. And I love the costume for the alien, and that you don't see the alien as much, but when you do, it's freaking awesome. Um, and then moving on to number 5, I have to put. Man, this was a hard one. This was another hard one because I'm trying to decide which one I would watch more as well as I just enjoy more. And like what I like about them because there's a lot of stuff to like about this next movie. Ironically, a lot of things to like about it. But John Carpenter's The Thing. I loved Escape from New York and many of John Carpenter's other movies like Halloween, Halloween 2 and such. I actually really enjoy Halloween 2. But John Carpenter's A Thing was underrated for the time. It's luckily gaining a cult following. It's probably one of the best interpretations of the book that it's based on, and it's a movie that has so much rewatch value because like you don't know who's who or who's going to be the thing. I've watched the movie so many times, had so much fun. I find the characters believable. It is very similar to Alien, but like it kind of does the Alien thing a little bit better because the monster is even more mysterious and it doesn't have a physical form that is just strict to one. It's kind of scary in the way that a H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu like creature is, where it's unworldly and like you can't make out its shape. I absolutely love it that it doesn't have like a I a true form that you can identify with. It's just all around scary with great effects that still really ages. Probably some of the best effects in movies and just forever and always. And I love the actors. There's some great funny parts. I will always quote some of the scenes. Cheating bitch. Or the I don't swear, but if you guys don't mind, I would I would love to spend the rest of this winter tied to this pen couch. You know, I love those quotes. They're just so funny. But yeah, I absolutely enjoy this movie. I can pop it on anytime. and just get so into it. Keith David is one of my favorite actors too. I love him as Arbiter, and They Live. I love They Live, but that didn't make the list. I had to go with this one. Love The Thing. Such an underrated horror movie that's luckily getting a lot more attention. It's just such a really good horror movie in general, with, once again, fantastic special effects. Next, we have to move on. I love practical effects more than like digital effects, but digital effects work from time to time. So that was my number 5. I think we're moving on to my number 4. My number 4 movie has to go to... there's actually a movie I want to talk about sometime, one of the only movies to make me cry. But that didn't make this list. I was so close to putting it on here, but I think these movies that I'm putting on here hit me harder and had certain aspects about them that I really enjoy. So, yeah, and I have to go into... Number 4 is Conan the Barbarian. Any Arnold movie. I could literally make a top 10 list of Arnold movies and be completely satisfied. I love Arnold movies, but Conan is the movie for me. I love this movie. This is the one that really got him in the front and center stardom, to be able to get the roles that he would eventually get in later movies, such as Terminator and such. It is thanks to Conan that he is even in a lot of those movies. I have to give that movie credit. It's such a dungeon, especially the sequel, is such a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Much better than the actual Dungeons and Dragons movie, which is a so bad it's a good type of movie. But I absolutely love Conan the Barbarian with brilliant music. It does have some good effects from here to there, and here and there. I love that it does have a lot of show don't tell stuff, and I think Arnold does do a good job in this movie for what he's given for one of his first time performances, other than Hercules and Manhattan or whatever. Can't remember the name of the movie. But it is freaking ridiculous too. But I think this is a brilliant Arnold movie. I've fallen in love with the Conan stuff in general. I have the video games, I have the books, the comic books. I have the movies, of course, which is the one I'm talking about. And I think every time I think of Conan, I just think of Arnold for whatever reason. I hate that. I love Jason Momoa, but the Jason Momoa Conan movie pissed me off. I know it's probably trying to be more like the book's interpretation, but for some reason that one just wasn't good. It really pissed me off in a lot of other areas of its filmmaking. But I absolutely love Conan. Great music, great villain. James Earl Jones is fantastic. It's not the only great villain he is, though. He's played a lot of great villains, and just great characters over time. Hell, his Mufasa was on my list technically, too, because I put Lion King on here. And I have to say, I can't get enough of Conan. I can always put that on and absolutely enjoy it. I know that Micah from Renegades Reacts absolutely loves that movie. I'm a big fan too. I always love it. Another movie I felt like I wanted to put on this list but couldn't, but is a big movie to me just because my grandmother introduced me to it. I have to honorable mention the House movie, which is it's kind of like a comedic horror movie in the same vein that Evil Dead is. It's like I was not a big fan of some of the sequels though, or the sequel. I can't remember how many sequels it had. I just remember the only one for me was the first House movie. I did think that the bad guy and the ending of that movie was disappointing, but I still really enjoyed it nonetheless. But that's just an honorable mention. Conan is truly on the list. Now, coming down to my top 3 was really hard, especially for 3 and 2, because I knew who was going to be number 1. I've even mentioned it as a title for another video what number 1 was, but I'll get that in a sec. but I had a hard time trying to decide between uh, two and three, three and two, and I think I've come to a decision. While I love both of these movies, and I think one has the disadvantage of being a lot longer and even boring to some extent for some people, I actually like that movie a little bit more than the movie I'm putting in number three. While I think it's short and sweet, I have problems from time to time, mostly because I'm sick of Star Wars. Star Wars is making me absolutely just sick of the series. I wish they would just go on to make KOTOR related stuff rather than, or new characters, or just be original rather than using a lot of the older characters that we come to know and love. Because it's freaking stupid. It's ruining the reputation they left behind for us. It's kind of like you take a actor who passed away's character and you decide to ruin that. It feels like it's ruining that character that could have lived long and prospered, but instead you decided to frickin' screw it up. Good job. I'm talking about the Obi-Wan show and even the Boba Fett show. But frick off with that crap. I'm done with Star Wars, but Empire Strikes Back is my number three. I used to watch this movie almost every day back in the day. I don't watch it as much, but I did watch it recently. I still really love Empire. Empire is the greatest for a reason. I should show you guys this place. I haven't shown this place over here. I'm not going to go in this place, though. It's just for show, mostly. And it's dangerous. As you can see, there's some wither skeletons. I made, like, this place I made as a wither skeleton kind of barbarian area. It's their own little hometown. Oh, I absolutely love it. But yeah, I made them their own little home. They got all these interesting looking houses and stuff that I gave their own little unique designs and such. And yeah, we'll know to stay away from those assholes. But Empire Strikes Back is such a fantastic film with one of the most iconic twists. One of the greatest villains of all time, one of my favorite lightsaber fights, one of my favorite scenes. I should talk about some of my favorite scenes in movies, because my top favorite scenes is I love the Balrog scene from Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring. Such a freaking good scene, because I'll talk about it later, but yeah, I love the fight between Darth Vader and Luke. I want to take a moment, by the way, and talk about Night's Watch or Shadversity when covering that fight scene. I definitely think that he's got a lot of the techniques down, and he definitely knows what he's talking about. There is no doubt about that. But I do have problems with some of the execution and his problems. For example, the lightsabers clashing together, I don't have a problem with that. Yes, it's a Hollywood trend, but honestly, those were some of the first Star Wars movies to do that kind of thing, so I have to give it leeway. And it's been years. I don't have a problem with that. I would more likely have a problem with later Star Wars stuff that does that kind of crap. Um, yeah, I don't agree with that. I think it works fine enough. There are a lot of technique difficult problems, but I have a problem with that too, because I love the way the fight goes out. I love this fight scene because it has three different phases to it. You can tell that Darth Vader goes from using just one-handed combat to two-handed, like, I'm not messing around, and that's even what Shad said. And he has three different kind of tests or ways that he's messing with Luke that he goes through. The first one is he's way more elegant. He's not putting his full power into it. Once again, he's using just one hand. He doesn't want to hurt Luke. He wants to get him caught in a trap. Then the second phase, he's focusing more on his force abilities and how Luke deals with that. once again toying with Luke. And then I love the third one, which is like where it's sloppy, definitely, but it is sloppy for a reason, and that is when, and this is actually talked about even in Return of the Jedi, where you utilize your anger as as a way, as well as you try to be more aggressive with your combat. And most people who have gotten more aggressive and been flailing their freaking lightsaber around have won most of the fights in Star Wars because they let the anger take over. Even Luke in the Return of the Jedi let his anger take over. Darth Vader was doing the exact same thing where he let his anger get the best of him, and he went all full out with his anger on Luke. Even taking a lightsaber at one point to his freaking shoulder. But yeah, he's throwing different phases of combat and such at Luke. And yeah, he's sloppy in that part, but he's sloppy for a reason. And I think it works really well for that sequence. It's one of my favorite sequences in the Star Wars movies, and I love the Balrog scene because it's got so much atmosphere and build up. And I love the Medusa scene in the 80s Clash of the Titans movie. That was a movie I almost put on this list, by the way. But yeah, I just had to briefly mention that. While I do think there are problems with the combat, I think that it serves a purpose nonetheless, as well as I think the time period when they were doing the lightsabers clashing together, pushing them back, is not that big a problem, especially when that's the first time that kind of stuff has been done or introduced. Um, so I don't think it's that big a deal. I also think I actually got a trident from him. Cool. I also think that like you'd have to have that same problem with Harry Potter because of the like wands connecting thing. Frick these buttons. Seriously, I can't. Whoops. Well, he went out of the door. I don't know why he wanted to do that. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with the the frickin' Empire Strikes Back. It's one of my favorite movies with great actors, great performances, memorable quotes, great plot twist that will never be forgotten amongst fans. Just one of the best things Star Wars has given us ever in the terms of movies and such. Fantastic. Love it. I still collect a ton of crap from that movie. I still have a lot of my old stuff. I have an old Empire Strikes Back piggy bank even that has Vader, and he quotes his lines impressive, most impressive, but you are not a Jedi yet. I'm not doing an impression of Vader. You can forget the voice right now. I'll do that later when I get him in Fortnite. But and I'll be probably doing some Fortnite today. I gotta wait for the update though. And so my second movie is Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring. I think this movie is long and it doesn't have as much action, but I think the action works much better. I've always talked to my friend about the action of Lord of the Rings. While it's fantastic, it does get to be overwhelming or a bit much, and it loses that weight that the action has in the other movies, kind of. Because I feel like when an action scene happens in Fellowship, it's rare as well as it's a very intense moment. And characters have actually died in the first Lord of the Rings, or at least one of them has temporarily died, where another one has died. That first movie has guts and did a fantastic job. And I have to congratulate the first movie just for having the guts to kill off characters, where the later movies don't kill as many characters, or ones that we remember anyway, or are going to remember. But because I do remember there are some characters that definitely die in the other movies, but I think that the first movie was the one that probably was the most memorable and hit a little harder, unless we're talking about the King of Rohan. And then you got the Balrog scene, such a great scene. I love the troll fight. But The Balrog scene had so much atmosphere. I love the scene where he's describing the Balrog and all you see is a light at the end of this giant corridor. You can't make out a figure or anything that the naked eye can see. It hasn't taken on a shape yet, and when it does, it's freaking awesome as hell. Even if it's not accurate to the book and has freaking wings, which it shouldn't. Um, which does make that scene a little goofy when you get to the most important part of it. Um, but I love that like Legolas is also trying to aim his bow somewhere but can't figure out where to aim it because he can't see the fricking thing. I love how like mysterious and how built up that is because and the atmosphere behind it. It's so intense a scene along with Gandalf's dialogue, and it's got that sense of mystery to it that, say, a Lovecraftian creature has in an H.P. Lovecraft book. So good. I love the fear of the unknown and how that portrayed the scene. It's one of the strongest scenes in the entire trilogy. So good. Oh, here's the map, by the way. But yeah, I absolutely love the Lord of the Rings movies. But the first one was my favorite. I felt that the second movie had, while all the movies aren't entirely accurate in some parts, there are part changes that have made. But I think some of the changes that Two Towers made especially pissed me off, like Boromir's brother being an asshole just to bring the plot to a halt with Frodo and Samwise because he's not a dick in the book. Which is just like so weird and out of character when it comes to knowing him in the book. And yeah, they even kill off Saruman too early in the third one, which is freaking sucks and is weird. But I really enjoyed Fellowship. It's one of my favorite movies with great performances, great actors picked for the parts. I wouldn't have picked anybody else. And even if I did, I couldn't see them as those characters. I would regret and really want to see Ian McKellen as Gandalf and Elijah Wood as Frodo, Sean Astin as Samwise. Is like so hard to see other actors in those roles. Love them, and I love the effects. I think they mostly hold up. For the most part, I think the Balrog is such a fantastic effect that still ages well today. And I love how cool a lot of the lines are in this movie in particular, such as the shall not pass, you shall not pass, you know. And I can't wait to read those books for the channel. But I have a couple other books that I got from the library that I have to read first so that I can return them and be on time with them. I just wanted to bring it to a halt only because of my uncertainty with my headset as well as my recordings and such. And let's just move on to the number one movie so I can get over with this. Number one has to be The Dark Knight. I absolutely freaking love The Dark Knight. I couldn't put that movie on. I love the Joker. Heath Ledger's Joker is fantastic. I love that makeup. It may not be a super accurate Joker to the comics and stuff. It doesn't need to be. I love the interpretation of it, but such a good Joker. It has that mystery to him. It's got everything that I love about the Joker. I think that the voice and the character is just brilliant. The laugh is great. He's both scary and funny. I agreed 100% with the stuff, and I think it makes my old friend that bashed on the Dark Knight movie look like a dumbass. Where the freaking Dark Knight has like these really funny scenes that are just very quick, but they get a laugh out of you. With the freaking Joker's reactions, like you think you can steal our money and just walk away, and he just casually and quickly says, yeah. I love that. I absolutely love that, and I always laugh when I hear that freaking quote. As well as the sequence when Harvey Dent is freaking out in his bed when he finds out it's the Joker, even though he probably should have figured that out in the first place, seeing his freaking upper face. Even though I think he was groggy and waking up at that moment, didn't entirely take that in yet. But I love that like he takes his time until he builds up to the hi. Once again, just the one word he says is freaking hilarious. These one-word situations, and there's so many quotable, memorable lines from the Joker too. I love all of his quotes. I can quote every single one. That movie is one that I've watched to the point that I can not only quote so much of it to the extent someone can quote Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which is another movie I wanted to put on here, but on this list, by the way, along with Airplane. I decided to use these. Matter of fact, now I'm kind of regretting it and want to put those on here. um, Man, I love The Dark Knight. Still one of my favorite movies. I deeply enjoy it and love the characters. I don't mind how over the top Christian Bale's voice is. Yes, it's a problem, but it's like a good problem, and I love mimicking it and quoting it. Such a great voice in the context that it was given, because I think it's actually Christopher Nolan that wanted him to do the ridiculous voice. But I love this movie. The Dark Knight's one of the best movies of all time. There's a reason it's still remembered fondly today. Um, and it's not just because an actor passed away. There's like that does not play a part in it. I would have totally loved this movie even if Heath Ledger was still kicking. I would have actually loved to see more Heath Ledger. I wanted more Heath Ledger for later movies, but it just sucks what happened, and that we're probably not going to see his Joker portrayal in another movie. It would have been such great potential too to be like, hey, they're going to bring back older Batman actors as their characters. It would have been so great to, if Heath Ledger was alive, he could return and be Heath Ledger's Joker again for a freaking almost like a three Joker movie. That would have been so great. Freaking Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, and just bring the guy who played Jerome in the freaking show. Don't even freaking do Jared Leto. Forget Jared Leto. He's an absolute ass and dummy. He's ruined both Morbius and freaking uh, the Joker. He's just known as a villain ruining asshole now. And yes, the memes are fine, the frickin' morbid memes, but piss off. Frickin' sick of seeing them everywhere. Why is this block just here? What is with that? Is this supposed to be here? Huh. What if I, oh my gosh, what is with my frickin', do you see my frickin', thumbstick just going crazy? Jeez, what is that all about? Let's get rid of all this dirt. Yeah, these are my favorite movies. I love the performances. I love the voices, the characters. I can quote so many goddamn lines. I can even point out the goddamn window that breaks in the beginning scene. I've done it several times, even in front of my friends and family, and they're always like, "You watch this too much." I love The Dark Knight. One of my favorite freaking movies, and I can't get enough of it. Once again, another movie that whenever it's on, I can't get sick of it. I'm watching it through and I don't get bored. Love it. Love the quotes. I love the actors. I love the characters. While I don't think all of the actors are the definitive versions of those characters, it all just culminates in this perfect movie. Almost perfect. There are definitely problems with the movie, but the negatives, I should say, do not outweigh the positives, and they do not take me out of the experience of the movie and everything it has to do, story-wise, character development-wise, and so much more. I love this movie, and I do love The Dark Knight Rises. I think it's a brilliant movie as well. Such fantastic movies. I hope you love these movies too. Maybe some of them are on your list, maybe they're not. Do your own top 10 lists. I would love to see them, whether they're in the comment section or whether you make your own videos on your top 10s. I've watched so many top 10s. There's probably some out there that I'm sure I've missed out on. But I hope you enjoyed nonetheless, and it's always fun to discuss favorite movies or shows or whatever. I should do animes and shows and like cartoons for my next top 10s. So those are going to be hard. I'll probably just do a couple of videos talking about several, like, pretty much all cartoons that I can think of and talk about at that time, and then tell you what I think are my top 3 if I had to make top 3s of favorite anime and or cartoons. But yeah, like, freaking loves, and I even love black and white shows and movies. I've watched some because of my grandmother. She had a lot of older black and white shows and movies and so much more around. I loved the Bela Lugosi Dracula even, and I love Abbott and Costello. My mother and I are big fans of the Three Stooges. We always try to catch the Three Stooge marathon whenever it's on the freaking New Year's Eve. Love it, absolutely love it. So that's everything I have to talk about, that I have to express. I really feel bad not putting Airplane and Monty Python's Holy Grail. I think Monty Python's Holy Grail would probably be number 11. Or I would probably even replace one of the other movies I talked about on the list with it. Maybe put it even in 4th place. I love Monty Python's Holy Grail. That movie's freaking hilarious and also very quotable. Love it. And we still talk about and quote that movie to this day, me and my friends. Just trying to even out some of these things. There we go. There. Okay, so I think that's everything. I'll see you guys next time. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye!